Hi, I'm Jackie, and today marks 1 year since I had what I now know as my experience with the Holy Spirit. Leading up to 1 year ago today, I had a lot of anxiety. I had been very sick. I'd lost a lot of weight. We didn't know what it was. I was going through a lot of tests. And all I know is I felt like my life was falling apart. The anxiety was very heavy. I had never felt that before. That leads to depression and all sorts of other things, right? I now realize my weight loss was due to anxiety because anxiety is tough on your body and it's hard to eat. And so every time I ate, I felt nauseous. If I didn't eat, I felt nauseous. And I still can get there today if I'm not careful, if I let my emotions get control of me. But what's changed, I am so blessed to say, is I know the Holy Spirit, I know God is with me and in my life. And I'm going to tell of my experience from 1 year ago. There was a disagreement with a good friend of mine, and she messaged me, and she came into my home, okay? And it's not even important the details, because what happened was there was some words exchanged. When I went to speak, the first thought in my head after I spoke what I spoke, which I believe was, well, are you a good friend? The first thought was, what are you, 12 years old, playing this little tit for tat game? And then something happened to me that at the time I thought was an adrenaline rush or cortisol or something, but there was a heaviness in my chest, not a bad heaviness, just a heaviness where I felt winded, tired. And I moved across 3 or 4 feet to lean against a wall because I didn't have much energy. But from there, things started to change in my life. And when I say things started to change, is I noticed myself being different. I had right away I noticed a more peace in my life, like in the days preceding. And then I had convictions, is what I would call it. God convicting me. I was going back into my past, reliving memories that I hadn't thought about for years and years. Some were good, some weren't good. And it was like this healing was happening. It was like I was recognizing things that had happened, why they happened. I was learning to forgive myself, realizing that I was just a kid in many situations, and those decisions that were made towards me and sometimes that I made were from a child standpoint, not from an adult standpoint. And other things, like, for example, I noticed that I was more tolerant of my husband in my home. I have very high standards on how things are done, and I was letting go of it. I was just going, it's not that big of a deal. I'm not going to make this big of a deal about things. And because it was happening, I would say every day over the last 365 days, now I know that God is working in my life because it was such a change from the past. And I didn't believe it at first. I talked to 2 or 3 doctors about that experience that I had, that physical experience, and I did my research as best I could. And there is no medical explanation for what happened. But because of the changes that have happened in me, in my mind, since then, in my life, I now know is the Holy Spirit, because it totally makes sense to go that direction. And not that my life is perfect today. I wished I could say just like that, all my troubles have been taken away and I can just move on. But that's not how it quite works. There is work to be done, and I'm slowly peeling away the layers and forgiving myself, being less judgmental of myself. And you know what? In turn, that's what I'm doing towards others. Because when you forgive yourself, when you're less judgmental of yourself, you can offer that to others. And that is the basis of why I was so judgmental of everyone around me, because I was so judgmental of my own self and the things I've done and the things I should be doing, etc., etc. And so I know my journey is only just beginning. And I do question why it took so long, because I have been, in my mind, a Christian for many, many years, for decades, but I just didn't have this closeness. I didn't have this relationship that I have today. And I am becoming, like Jesus talked about, that little child, just opening my heart and my soul to something more than myself and this physical world. And I know for some people that's going to sound woo-woo, and that was something very difficult for me to be verbal about, because I don't want to sound crazy. I have judged people, like what I'm saying. I have judged people saying, oh yeah, you're just a little crazy up here. But I know something's changed, and what do you do with that? You know, you either admit it or you hold it in, but you can't hold it in because things are changing all the time. So this past year, 1 year today, I believe that's when things really started to shift in my life, and I can see God working in my life on a daily basis, and I am grateful. So thanks for letting me share this part of my journey with you. And I pray that all of my friends and all the people that I love can feel what I'm feeling, because it is honestly a life changer. It's a game changer in how I look at life. Thank you.